The title of this video is How to Stop Being Triggered and Calm Yourself. Do you ever find yourself overreacting to things that happen almost every day? For instance, if somebody cuts you off when you were driving and you spontaneously get so angry you honk your horn and you shout at them, even though they can't possibly hear you. Or you find yourself stuck in a slow line at the supermarket. So you sigh and you mumble to yourself in frustration. Or you see a social media post and it triggers you. And before you can stop yourself, you're typing an angry reply. After you're done overreacting, you might wonder, what just happened? Where did that come from? These are just a few examples of what overreacting is like. And just about everybody experiences them from time to time, even if you're not usually an emotionally reactive person. But have you ever asked yourself, why does overreacting happen? Why do you get triggered? It can even make you feel like you're being controlled by an invisible force, like being imprisoned by your own emotions. Well, there are two major sources of overreacting. One source of overreacting or getting triggered is your own brain. The amygdala, it's a component of your brain. It's also sometimes referred to as part of the reptilian brain. The lizard that possessed this brain needed only three basic instinctual impulses in order to survive. Depending on the circumstances, it either needed to fight, or freeze, or flee. These lizard brain behaviors can range from phobias to snap judgments to even procrastination or to something like writer's block. And they arise because the reptilian brain complex is designed to work in one simple mode. When confronted with a challenge, such as hunger, or a perceived threat, such as a frightening situation, your lizard brain gives you only three possible choices: fight, freeze, or flee. Now, back in the day, say 80 million years ago, they might have been valid day-to-day options that helped these animals survive. If they were hungry, they killed something and ate it. If something was trying to kill them and eat them, they froze and played dead, or they ran away. In other words, the amygdala helped them live by either fighting, freezing, or fleeing. The lizard brain in your head still operates the same way today. The difference is that there isn't a lot of eat or be eaten situations in modern society, at least not literally. So fighting, fleeing, or freezing are often overreacting responses to modern situations. What happens instead of fighting, people exhibit quick, reflex, knee-jerk behaviors, such as anger. And instead of fleeing, people find themselves overreacting and becoming unreasonably frightened. Instead of freezing, people procrastinate or unintentionally sabotage themselves. Simply because there is this component of a reptilian brain in your head does not mean that you have to actualize these ancient and what are largely obsolete reactions. Realizing where these inappropriate responses come from and why is the first step to dealing with overreacting behavior. The second cause of overreacting lies in the many subtle energy patterns that you've created by overreacting in the past. So each time that you have an emotional reaction, you energize subtle patterns with your life force energy. And that is why after an emotional outburst, you feel somewhat drained and tired. Over time, each of these subtle patterns becomes stored in your body or in your aura or in your chakras, and they collect there in clusters and layers just waiting to be reactivated the next time you're triggered by something. The only way not to get triggered is to directly address what causes you to react. I'm going to give you techniques for battling negative effects of overreacting. The first is recognizing where these behaviors come from and to see them in your own day-to-day life for what they are. You need to know what the reactions are, what kinds of situations trigger them, so you'll be aware of what's happening the next time the triggering event comes up. The second thing is to plan ahead on how to deal with them when they do occur. And the third thing is to deal with the outcome of their effects. Now, here is how you do it. Most of the time, when you react, there's little thinking about it. Have you noticed? Your reactions just seem to rise up out of nowhere. That's because they're coming from your subconscious. They're like programs in your subconscious mind, and you can de-energize them. So the first thing is pause. When you feel a reaction arising up, or you recognize it as an overreaction, or you're feeling triggered, while you pause, you withhold self-judgment and you take a breath. You acknowledge to yourself that you're just experiencing a survival instinct that's part of your physical makeup, and there are ways to address them and reduce them. Even if you've already overreacted, you shift your energy by taking a deep breath in through your nose and exhaling gently out through your mouth. The second thing to do is to label it. It actually helps to put a label on your trigger or your overreacting, because specifically identifying helps you to disidentify from it by refuting its claim on you and releasing the energy from you. So what exactly is the reaction? Is it anger or frustration or feeling frightened or insecure? Or maybe it's anxiety. If somebody cut you off on the road, there's a good chance maybe you felt some anger. Anger and fear are likely your most common overreactions. However, as you navigate your day, there are going to be a range of emotions and reactions for you to label. Step 3 is ask. Ask yourself why this has triggered you the way it did. The point of this step is to make yourself aware of your blind spots and your triggers. You see, often the emotion in your reaction is due to something completely below the surface. It's deeper than just being cut off. So you might be reacting angrily because you feel like it's going to make you late. The more information that you can gather about overreacting and being triggered, the more deeply and thoroughly you're going to be able to release and clear it. Step 4 is choose. You've paused, labeled and asked, and now it's time to choose a healthy response. This is a key step in the process. Think about your goal, what matters most, and how you can respond productively. Is getting angry really going to help you achieve your goal? No. The goal in our example here is to get to work or another destination on time and to get there safely. Getting angry is going to shift your focus, and it's going to distract you from that goal of getting to work on time. A better response would be shake it off. Focus on your driving. And now step 3, release. You don't want to just ignore or bury the emotional or subtle energy tied up in the overreaction. So let's briefly look at the 2 most common triggers, anger and fear. Sometimes getting angry causes people to do what you want them to do. That's why parents yell at their kids or yell at their pets. They want to control their behavior. People in relationships sometimes do the same thing. But the reality is, anger doesn't really get you the results you want. People may temporarily do what you want, but they're going to resent you. They might even hate you or fear you. And anger breeds more anger. Here's what happens when you're angry. Getting angry actually feeds more energy, more life force into the anger program controlling you. So unwittingly, you energize the very anger pattern that you want to get rid of. Now, the way to counter anger is to center in your heart center. That's in the center of the chest. Then you take a deep breath and you energize the opposite: peace, love, patience, and kindness. Now, I know that might seem difficult in a moment of anger, but with practice, you can cut off the energy source of the anger and it will diminish. If you want to completely eliminate overreacting, I suggest the methods in my subtle energy neutralizer program. It's a short audio program I have on my website, Subtle Energy Neutralizer. And this program has the most effective techniques I've ever used to clear anything negative. Now, the mind also thinks fear is a good thing because fear keeps you from danger. So that probably makes some sense, right? Well, if you are actually in a threatening situation, it could conceivably help you by maybe amping up your adrenaline so you can fight or run away. And yet you probably have a form of fear on a regular basis when you're not under a threat. For instance, worry is a form of fear. Low self-esteem is a form of fear. Self-doubt is fear-based. Anxiety, of course, is fear-based. Insecurity of all types. Guilt is fear. Shame is fear. And there are dozens of other variations, and they're all common forms of fear. 99% of the time, what you fear never happens. And yet this ego program can squelch your very best efforts at succeeding and even prevent you from doing things that would be good for you or are fun. In chapter 7 and 8 of my book, The Soul Solution, I go into some detail on clearing fear and the ego. You can find that book on Amazon. The opposite of overreacting or being triggered is inner peace and serenity. Deep inner peace is a state of spiritual calmness without suffering or mental disturbances. It is a sense of calmness regardless of one's surroundings or circumstances. Serenity comes from a Latin word, serenus, which means clear or unclouded. And serenity is a mental state in which you feel calm and untroubled, while truly at peace deeply within yourself. With practice, you're going to find yourself shifting away from reactive emotions and calming yourself much more effectively. Besides methods that I've already mentioned, practicing acceptance is an important way to experience constant serenity throughout your daily life. By accepting the curveballs that life may throw at you, you'll no longer let things bother you as much as you have in the past. Now, acceptance doesn't mean that you agree with what happened. Acceptance is about recognizing forces that were set in motion to cause the circumstances. So while you don't necessarily agree with what happened, you're able to recognize something caused it to take place, and you can calmly address in a rational way a way to handle it. So accepting that you cannot predict the future or change the past allows you to feel the present in the moment and let go of a worrisome thought. Finding a sense of acceptance for what is and what will be allows you to be more alert and focused on what is right in front of you, addressing life while feeling an inner calm. When you have deep inner calmness, you're much more effectively able to handle any situation that arises. Serenity is the opposite of internal chaos. What your mind needs is the opposite of chaos. The mind needs serenity. Serenity is a state of being calm, peaceful, untroubled. And a mind with serenity will not harm others. It will be patient. It will be kind. It will not suffer anxiety or entertain depressed thoughts. It will simply be. What do you do to arrive at creating serenity? You can create a serenity trigger. A serenity trigger can be anything you focus on to remind you of serenity. For instance, images of a serene pastoral setting with rolling grassy hills and a peaceful running stream. You focus on the mental image of an inner movie like this. And when visualized, it reminds you to pause from whatever you're doing and go to your safe place. Serenity, amidst whatever chaos might be going on around you. Your serenity trigger can be anything that works for you. Maybe it's a picture of your family or a significant other that you keep in your wallet. Maybe it's thinking about a pet you love. Maybe the sound of a waterfall. Maybe it's something you carry with you, such as a crystal or an item of jewelry that holds meaning for you that you feel comfortable when you wear. You could also use an app on your smartphone or on your computer that plays relaxing music while displaying pictures or movies of relaxing scenes. In other words, you want to find something that makes you feel peaceful, and you use it as your serenity trigger. I have a lot more suggestions and guidance for you in my ebook, The Power of Zen. That entire book is about attaining serenity, and it's available on my website. Until the next time, I'm Jonathan Parker.